Marki Costello. I want to start with a little story. I'm going to take you all the way back about 12 years. And I tried to convince my bosses to let me attend your boot camp. And of course, they said no. So my next best option when working in local news was to read your book. And I probably devoured it in one sitting because, first of all, I still remember this. I remember it being not only really informative, such tangible takeaways, also not very long, just easily digestible. So first of all, I just want to thank you because I've been a fan for a very long time. So I appreciate you coming on and talking to me today.
Of course.
Let's start with your name. Marki. I feel like that's a unique name. Like, is that the name you were born with?
That's the name on my birth certificate. It's funny because I had asked my dad recently. I was like, well, why did you name me Marki? Like, meaning, and he said, well, you just were ahead of your time. And I was like, what? Well, what kind of, and he was like, yeah, I just like the name and you're just ahead of your time. And it's so funny because now I love it. But growing up, I hated it because people would be like, well, did your parents want a boy? Is that Margie? But now I love it because it is so unique. And so not a lot of people have it. Marki Post, the actress who passed away. But I want to go back to what you said at the beginning. Who were your bosses at the time that wouldn't let you do the boot camp? How short-sighted and silly of them. People that I've coached over my 25 years. I mean, it's insane how many news people I put on network. I mean, how many people are working and how many name talent.
Yeah, including, I mean, I could go over the roster of people that you've coached over the years, but Justin Sylvester, Morgan Stewart, Jason Kennedy, Carly Kloss, Whitney Cummings. Who else? I'm obviously just scratching the surface
Michelle
here.
Buteau, who's now just, I mean, she hosted The Circle originally, but she studied with me for a long time. And then, she's a huge actress. She has a Netflix, a documentary like The Survival of the Thickest. Like, I mean, so many people over the year. Carrie Champion, who's huge. I mean, her podcast. I mean, it's just, there's so many. And so Eric Andre, I look at all of these people, and those are just the big names, you know what I mean? But, there's so many people in local news that are influencers that took my boot camp, so it's so crazy because back in the heyday of my coaching, networks would send their talent to me. If someone was hosting something, they'd be like, you're going to Marki Costello. Recently, I just worked with Captain Lee from Below Deck because he got a show on, not Lifetime, Oxygen. And it was basically like a crime drama of like what happens on the high seas. And he was sort of narrating it and hosting it. And the first thing the network did was, we did 8 hours of working on the copy, working on the narration, getting him comfortable connecting to that audience, where in reality on Below Deck, you have no script. And so most great networks and production companies go, yeah. When Carly got Project Runway, hey, Scooter Braun was her manager at the time and was like, you're going to go work with Marki. And then Carly and I would work on so many things. She'd be like, I'm doing a stint on the Today Show. I'm doing my press junkets. Can you work? And I would work with her constantly, meaning, so it's just interesting how I was getting my hair cut yesterday, and this young, cute little blonde, maybe 22, 23. I hope she's not listening now. But I was like, well, why aren't you doing stuff on TikTok like so many other hairdressers and Instagram? And why aren't you utilizing that free media? And she was like, I don't know. I mean, I guess I could. I should just put up a ring light and but it's just like that young generation. It's like, one, they think they know everything. I said, why don't you do a little media training to go over what kind of content you should be shooting and how to bring out your personality with your style when you're cutting hair or, I don't need it. My boyfriend's an influencer. And I was like, oh, okay. Meaning it's just that mindset with this younger generation because they grew up with YouTube and they can Google anything. They just think they know everything.
Yeah. And we will get into all of that and the trajectory of this business. But as we were talking about earlier with not sending me to your boot camp, I think companies are getting cheaper.
They are. I mean, especially now. I mean, the whole industry, we touched upon it briefly, but yeah, the whole industry has changed dramatically. I mean, no one's watching traditional television or traditional news or late night, or nobody is, you know. I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday about Stephen Colbert. I'm like, Stephen will be fine. He'll be just fine because he'll go into a podcast, he'll go into the digital space, he'll be just fine. But I go, the bottom line is the late night numbers, E-News, gone. And E-News, I knew the writing was on the wall for E-News 10 years ago. I used to say, who's going to wait
You
till
did.
7 o'clock at night to get their E-News? We've gotten it all day long, but I think they kind of kept it because it was sort of like, the brand, the name brand that kept everything else flowing. So maybe back in the heyday when Jason Kennedy was my client and I got him the gig at E-News, the 3 to 4 million people would watch it. And then towards the last 2 years, I mean, I think they're lucky if they get 20,000, but 100 million people log on to E! Online. 50 million people follow it on TikTok and Instagram. And I think that it'll go away as far as, but they'll come in and do award shows. They'll come in kind of like how MTV used to do it with like, hey, like, breaking news, the Foo Fighters, and like, you'll get breaking news in between content or programming on the network. But yeah, this is where we are. I wake up in the morning and I used to put on the Today Show. I still do have it in the background. But right after I put on the Today Show and I start my coffee at 6 a.m., guess what I'm doing next? Scrolling. I go to TikTok first. You're crazy if you're not on TikTok. I know people are so like Instagram versus TikTok. But I'm telling you, everybody out there who is watching your podcast, if you're not doing TikTok, huge missed opportunity. That algorithm is chef's kiss.
And you've seen it
all.
You practically grew up in this business, right? Wasn't your grandfather a famous actor, Lou Costello?
Lou Costello from Abbott and Costello. And then my mom, who was Lou's daughter, right? She was married to Dean Martin's oldest son, Craig Martin. So like I grew up with the Martins. I grew up with the Costellos. My dad was a hippie in the 60s that produced music for the Beach Boys. He actually testified in court against Charlie Manson. And so, and my godfather was Terry Melcher, who was Doris Day's son. So I'm Hollywood royalty, grew up in this town, grew up in Hollywood. Yeah, and you have to have a certain skin for it. Like, I was just coaching like a group of like 8 influencers for a new project. And, they'd get up there and they'd be like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm nervous. And I'd just be like, do you love being in front of the camera? Well, yeah, well then, okay, then just stay in your bathroom doing get readies with me. Versus coming into this platform, which is taking what you've done here, but now elevating it to what we're doing here. And if you don't love getting up to be like, I remember, I studied acting back in the day. And I remember being in acting class and D.W. Brown, the acting coach, like he would say like,
I studied with him.
I love DW and Joanne. And I think anybody who's thinking about acting, I know DW is going to be in New York doing a seminar, but you should look up Joanne Bear and DW Brown Studios. And I studied with them too. I was like 19, 20, 21. And I just remember being in class and like I remember DW saying like the people that get up there that have snot flying out of their nose, that they don't care how they look. He goes, those are the people I love to watch. And that just stood out to me. And I learned so much from that, meaning, right, because that's relatable versus the person there that's trying to be so perfect and, right? Like, so yeah, life is messy. Don't be afraid to show us a little bit of that mess. I call it the 3 R's. When we reveal, we become relatable. And relatable equals ratings, clicks, views, likes. But the caveat in the 3 R's is we only do that in the context of what we're currently talking about. So if I was like, yeah, Brad Pitt's mom died and it's so sad. And as someone who lost their mom at a young age, I'm glad you had 84 years with her, Brad. I know how hard that loss is, right? So in the context of telling that story, I'm able to reveal something about me losing my mom. So anybody who's watching that goes, I lost a parent too. Oh my God, me too. So you want to have those me
Yes.
too moments with your audience, because that's how you engage viewers. That's how you get followers, right? Where they go, oh, I like her, me too. Like recently, I stumbled upon Candace Zimmerman, the actress, and this girl Heidi are doing a podcast called Talk 50 to Me, like Talk Dirty to Me, Talk 50 to Me, about women in their 50s and just, and I go, I'm a woman in my 50s. I want to listen to this podcast. I want to follow them on Instagram. I want them to talk 50 to me. I want to like get into this. I can relate. Me too. All the little snippets they said, I was like, me too. Oh my God, I can relate. Me. I want that connection. I want to go, I'm like you. Oh my God, I'm part of your posse, your peeps. We all want to feel that connection. So important.
That's so true. When we look at e-news, do you think that this is going to be a domino effect with all the remaining entertainment programs out there? We still have Entertainment Tonight. We still have Access Hollywood. We still have
Well, look at
Extra,
Extra.
right?
Look at Billy Bush. He left, he's leaving,
Yes.
and he has his hot mics with Billy, and he gets amazing guests on, and he just said, for him leaving, he said, look, it was his decision. This is what he says, and I'm sure it was. And he goes, and you have to answer to station groups, and you can't say this, and you got to be pro this and pro that, because the whole Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds and Justin Baldoni, Billy was very vocal, thinking and saying on his podcast, she's crazy, poor Justin Baldoni, how could his career be ruined because of her? Like, you couldn't do that as the host of Extra. You can't.
Very true.
So it's kind of an interesting time where everybody, even Stephen Colbert, where, it was, we all know that was part of the whole, Trump settlement. And then the whole reason why, Sherry Redstone could buy, ByteDance, but meaning, I think we're just going to see that more and more. I just heard Gayle King is on the chopping block possibly because of her big high salary and like not a lot of numbers. It's the reason why Hoda left. Hoda left because she was like, I'm not getting paid as much as the men. I've been here forever. And they were just like, financially, we just don't have the money. And it was a principle for her. And Hoda's doing just fine, and she'll do just fine. Meaning, I think people are finally realizing talent, that there's a lot more than just TV, digital.
Do you notice that with male and female clients that you have to fight for, obviously you have to fight for the woman's salary and the woman's benefits and perks way more than a male?
Still in 2025, we're still fighting the good fight that women get less, and women need more. They need hair, makeup, they need wardrobe, they need this, that. Men should shower and shave and they're good to go. Like, meaning you should get paid more. They have babies at home. They need nannies, babysitter, like, meaning, so it just makes me crazy when an executive is just like, well, no, like, and FYI, they've been there longer. Why are they making less? We still see this tremendously upsetting about it. It's very upsetting about it.
When we look at the clients that you've brought in over the years, is there a person that sticks out in your mind that has come in and you said, aha, they have it? Either that could be the it factor, that could be just they're naturally really good at this. Is there anyone that sticks out to you?
So many. Oh my God, so many. I think about Michelle Buteau. I mean, she came in, she was a comic, she wanted to host, she was writing, acting, and she just was magic. I mean, I didn't know how big that she would become. I mean, she's huge. I see her now on all the back to school Amazon, commercials. She's always in my feed for something, but, she was just so talented and so funny, and she was so nice and relatable and a hard worker. For me, when you're in the hosting news broadcast world, sometimes people come in and I go, they have no it factor, but they're relentless and they are willing to work their ass off. And they're willing to go like, yeah, why doesn't that work? Or why am I doing this? Or how can I be better at this? And because once again, when you're a host or a news anchor, it's asking you to be you. You're not playing a role. You're doing you. I would really teach and encourage them, connect to your audience. And back in the day, connect to your audience. And as we know now, that's how so many people become influencers, by having that strong connection to their followers, which is ultimately their audience. Look at that cute little, is it Katie Feeney that ESPN just did that big deal with?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
She literally on all of those platforms had amassed like 13 to 14 million followers between YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and she became a force to be reckoned with in the sports world. And ESPN was like, yeah, that's who we want to be in business with, because if she's already garnered 14 million people in her audience, that's your value. When people come to me now and they're like, well, I want to be doing this, I want to be doing, I'm like, how many followers do you have? And they're like, I don't know, 102. I'm like, yeah, if you can't in 3 or 4 years get like, a good, then you're doing something wrong. One, you're being generic. Now I even see on TikTok, Snapchat, and Instagram, people, hey, bestie, how are my movie junkies? Which is what I've been teaching for years. Connect to your audience, make them the star, then you'll become the star inevitably.
Yeah, it's kind of changed. You look at someone like her, you Google her name. That's what I immediately did. I'm like, who is this girl? Dee, 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 dee. And I look and I'm like, where'd she come from? Dee, dee, dee. TikTok. That's how this game is changing. People are becoming big stars, not because they were at ESPN to start and then they went over to social media. No, they're starting on social media and gathering that audience, getting that experience and getting those followers first. And then the networks are picking up on it and going, ooh, who is this?
Ding, 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 ding. The old model is, okay, I go to broadcast journalism school, I intern somewhere, I get, I do maybe an hour on a Sunday if I'm lucky, and I work my way up. No, now, yeah, like Katie Feeney, you go and build that, and then everybody's going to go, how does she get 14 million people to engage with her on a daily basis? Well, clearly she's engaging. She's likable. She knows what she's talking about. They like her interviews. I went and scoured all of her content. She's really good. She has something unique, and I can see why 14 million people have decided to follow her, which once again becomes your audience, which is your money in the bank. If you have 14 million people following you, well, guess what? You can write your ticket anywhere you want to go. And that's where we are in media. And I tell people all the time now, like I will sit when I'm coaching someone, they'll be like, well, I want to be doing this and I want to be doing that. I'm like, why don't you worry about getting 30,000 people to watch you? Because if you can, then you're in a good sweet spot. You're a micro influencer. And if you truly love being in front of the camera and engaging, enlightening and educating and entertaining the masses, that 30,000 shouldn't be hard, right? But I also think we're in this time where everybody thinks they can be an influencer. Everybody thinks they can host. Everybody thinks they can disseminate information, not realizing, no, there is an art to it. And you do have to have a calling for it.
Yes. Playing devil's advocate, this whole new wave of thinking about it pisses off some of the people that went through the journalism route, went to become really, talented in that department of hosting. And then they see somebody that's an influencer come along or a celebrity that come along and take the jobs that they've worked so hard to get. What would be your response to that?
Well, one, celebrities for a long time named talent were like, I don't want to host. I want to act. I want to sing. I want to do my movie. I want to do my sitcom. But what happened with the writer's strike, when all of these actors and writers had mortgages, private school tuitions, they realized, oh, shoot, I can host because that isn't, I'm not a scab. I'm not crossing the picket line. Unscripted is not part of that contract, and so they were Anthony Anderson. Every actor, was just popping up. Rob Lowe, Anthony, everybody was now hosting and still doing their scripted stuff. And it wasn't taboo anymore. It was like, oh, perfectly acceptable. And so I think that's what we sort of have to attribute all of the name talent hosting now. not just because of followers, but because they have the opportunity and they realize I can go in and shoot a game show and do 10 episodes in a weekend and shoot 4 weekends out of the year and get 40 episodes done, and bada bing, I'm done. And I just made $2 million versus 26, episodes, 36 weeks versus 4 weeks, right? Like, and then if you're doing both, well, fantastic.
Yeah. It makes me think of this one moment, and I'm going to run down it for you. Maybe you remember this. It's the 2023 Oscars, and it's Ashley Graham and Hugh Grant.
Yeah. Ashley Graham and Hugh Grant at the 2023 Oscars. And I remember it like it was yesterday. They were like, they had the big like round where they put him on the stage and like, and I'll never forget, he was really nasty to her, like meaning I think he was sort of incensed to like, why is she interviewing me versus a Robin Roberts or like, but but Ashley Graham didn't know how to handle it. See, in that situation, I would have said, well, Hugh, why are you so uptight tonight? Why are you so grumpy? Are you hangry, Hugh? Like, did you not eat before? Like, almost kind of put a mirror up to him about his behavior. Because why you do that is we're all seeing it too. So instead of making it uncomfortable for us by like not knowing what to do, just be like, are you hangry? Can I get you a soda, a shot of tequila? Why so grumpy tonight, Hugh? And then we all go like, brava. And thank God she said something because it made me hate him or whatever. That's what a true pro would have done. And then it also would have made Hugh go, you know what? I am hangry. I'm sorry. I'm being so snippy. I'm just in the worst mood. The car dropped me off 2 blocks. And next thing you know, you probably get a great soundbite.
Yeah. Yeah. She had mentioned after that interview that I believe she was trying to just kill him with kindness, but it just came off so awkward.
No, and you can try the killing with kindness for like 1 or 2 beats. But if they're not biting on the kindness, then you got to go with beat number 3, which is, why are you being such an asshole without saying an asshole? Why are you so grumpy? Are you hangry? What can I get you to make you a little bit more breathe with me, Hugh? In for, out for. Because then all of a sudden it puts the spotlight on him, not her, but him to go, ugh, you're right. I'm so sorry. I'm just being such a dick. It's not you, it's me. And then next thing you know, like I said, you get a great soundbite. She didn't know how to handle it. And I do think if it was a pro that's on the carpet all the time, they would know how to handle it. I'll never forget, like Jason Kennedy years ago was covering like a red carpet event. It was the first time Charlie Sheen was speaking out. And it was right after Charlie's had so many... It was right after the firing of 2.5 Men. And he was
winning.
And he was going to an event and there was an embargo where you couldn't ask him what happened, why did he get fired. And I remember Jason and I talking briefly about it. He was like, well, that's all our audience wants to know. It's so crazy that we can't ask, but that's the publicist. Everybody's told us there's an embargo. We can't. Yeah. So Jason gets to the red carpet. And Charlie comes up and he says, Charlie, before tonight's red carpet, I was at the Ralph's in Beverly Hills on Beverly getting a banana, a smoothie, something to drink before tonight's award show or whatever it was, before tonight's premiere. And you are on the cover of every magazine as I'm waiting to check out. There you are. Bada bing, People, Us, In Touch, Inquirer, blah, blah, blah. How do you deal with all of this sort of chaos of misinformation? He was like, brother, you have no idea. And the next thing you know, Charlie just starts spilling it all. So
he set him up in the right way.
He went through the back door, not the front door. He went through that back door. The front door would be like, Charlie, why'd you get fired? What happened? Da, 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 da. You know what I mean? The back door is sort of, how do I get Charlie to feel comfortable enough, empathize, get him to empathize, like me empathizing with him. Like, God, dude, how do you do it on the cover of every magazine with a different headline? That would make me crazy. Boom. You have no idea, brother. Boom, 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 boom. And I think going back to like Ashley, she just didn't have that experience like a Jason who did 1 million carpets and it, like to him, right? So experience is so important.
Yeah, so is that important for casting directors to take note of the experience versus being somebody that is just an influencer that has a bunch of following? Like, where is that balance, you
Yes
know?
and no. Meaning a lot of times we bring in very talented people that have good experience, but then they'll be like, well, what's their following? Meaning it's sort of like you have to have a little bit of, it's like the girl on E! News, Kelty, that's her name, Kelty. What's her name? Kelty. She's the
Yes,
host on
Kelty.
Lady Gang. And so
It's
I
true.
think having Lady Gang, which Lady Gang during the pandemic, I think was like in the top 20 always of podcasts. I think they had a huge audience. I know she had hosted a couple little other things before that. But I think they want sort of someone like her that can handle E-News with her eyes closed, does a great job, but also has that built-in audience from Lady Gang and social media and her so you kind of want the best of both worlds. I mean, even Morgan
I must
Stewart now. I mean, I love following Morgan. And I think she's blossomed into just like this incredible on-camera personality where, when E had her, she was just learning and it was coming off of Rich Kids of Beverly Hills. It's very different.
Yeah, talking about Kelty, I must be a curious person, but it was the same thing. Who was Kelty? Do, 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 do. Oh, Kelty was a podcaster at first? What?
Right.
That's how the industry's changing. Do you think that the traditional hosting gigs are going away? Like, do you notice that? Or do you think that they're still here to stay? People going on Actors Access and whatever the ones are these
I
days.
think absolutely. I think they'll always be here, but I don't know if they'll go out to like local news people like they have in the past. I think they might go, oh, we have our influencer. Like, look at who covered. You had the Giggly Squad covering the Met or covering the Vanity Fair party at the Oscars. You had Hannah and you had Paige covering it, right? Like you had the Giggly Squad. She's on a reality show. She's a comic. They were on that reality show together. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. That is what's happening. So I could see them taking someone from like a podcast or big on TikTok to do a segment. My client, Tiffany Taylor, who's on The Hollywood Reporter, who writes and produces and hosts for The Hollywood Reporter, I mean, she's now getting like, we have all these other things that are happening for her. Like, okay, let's go to this morning show and ask them if you could be this, in the morning and talk about like Hollywood's hot takes, let's go to, News Nation, which they're already using her to talk about like Brad Pitt's mom dying. Let's go here. She'll pitch all the time to The Hollywood Reporter. Hey, let me do a before the red carpet, like a week before the Oscars, let me do a round table. Like, so, it's just about creating opportunity for you. Yes, the Hollywood Reporter's given her a great platform and she's amazing. She's been there like 9 years and she writes and she produces and she's been nominated for Emmys and she hosts. But it's then going to them to say like, maybe you can't give me more money, but maybe you could give me more opportunity.
For those that are already aspiring hosts or hosts in this industry and they walk into a casting room, what advice would you give them for prepping for that cold read, prepping for that interview?
To remember, it's never about the word. It's about who is the audience for this. So if you're going in to do like, let's say you're going to audition for Alex Cooper's new reality show, right? And you're to be the host, even though they've hired, what's her name from The Bachelor and Traders, Gabby, what's her name?
Yeah, Gabby
she's cute and she's funny and I can see why. And they're on a yacht and it's a dating show. Well, okay, who's the audience for that? Okay, well, I'm sure it's women at first, and then eventually men when it's like when it's like a hit like Love Island. Then the boyfriends and the football players come and watch it because why? Their girl is telling them, "Honey, we gotta watch Love Island tonight," and then they get on the bandwagon. But so in the beginning, it's women watching. So it's like, how can you connect to the women? So it's like when women come in and it's like we're looking for a sexy woman. Like why Jenny McCarthy was so great on Singled Out is because men and women both loved her. She was like, yes, she was this playmate, but she was also like, I burp and I fart and I eat a McRib and don't be jealous of me, women. I'm just like you and I bleed every 28 days. So she knew how to really play into that audience. And I think that's the single most important thing. Then you look at your copy or sides that are on teleprompter or whatever, knowing that like it's my girls. My girls are going to love this new dating show. If you're sick of Love Island, bored with The Bachelor, welcome to ladies. And it's making that connection right away. That's what a network and production company want to see. It's talent will come in and be like, oh my God, how do I say this word? Can I do this? It's like, no one cares about the word, you know what I mean, at this point. And when we give you a prompter and when you're on set and all of that, then we'll worry about the rules and the word and the intro and the outro. Right now, all we're worried about is our audience going to connect to this person?
You made me think of 2 points. The first point being, speaking of The Bachelor, weren't you a producer or casting director for The Bachelor at one point?
My company cast the very first season of The Bachelor. We cast all the girls, The Bachelor, everybody. We did the whole kit and caboodle. It was right after 9/11, and I'll never forget it. We took almost 10 months to cast that first season because we did the guys for like 7 months, and then 9/11 happened, and we took like a month off, and then we cast the girls. And what's so funny, talk about a full circle moment. My son, Lucas, is casting. He's part of the casting team casting this new season of The Bachelor.
Wow.
I say all.
Do you guys talk back and forth about casting then versus casting now?
We talk every single solitary day, but it's funny because I'll say to him, like, God, back in my day, we could never do what you're doing today. Like, meaning, our day, it was a lot harder because we didn't have social media. We had to find that needle in a haystack. Now you have 80 million haystacks, meaning, and like the needles are so easy to find. Just if you know what I mean. And it's funny. I just saw someone looking for a casting director, and they had put something on a Facebook group I'm on, like women working in reality TV. And it was like, hey, I need a casting director, but I just don't need someone that's going to scroll through TikTok and Instagram and get me people. I need someone, it's a really specific job, and you know what I mean? So it's interesting how this generation of casting people, which is why I think people like who have been doing it forever, like me and Jackie Pittman and Randy Bernstein. There's so many of us that have been, Billy Kemp, have been doing it for so long because I think we bring a little bit of the old with the new.
Yeah, exactly. And it made me think of branding and what is your brand? The buzzwords we put out there, authenticity. Can you talk to me about branding and how to even first determine your brand? Because I think we just throw that out there a lot. And also how important authenticity is.
It's never been more important to be authentic because we can really read through bullshit so quick in 2025. You know what I mean? The more authentic, the better. Because if someone is not authentic, it comes across and we're like, ugh, and we'll cancel you and we'll hate you and we'll give you nasty comments. So it's very important to be authentic. The second thing, it's interesting. I was just in New York and I ran into this girl on the streets of Soho who said, oh my God, Marki, I took your New York boot camp like 15 years ago. And we were chatting and she goes, you know why, Marki? I was just so mad at you after the boot camp. I was like, well, one, I didn't know you were mad at me, but two, go ahead, tell me why. She goes, because 15 years ago, you just kept saying, you guys have to figure out your brand. Let's work on your brand. What is your brand? What do you like? She goes, and I just didn't want to hear it. I just wanted to be on Entertainment Tonight. I didn't want to have a brand. And your whole class 15 years ago was how important branding is. And I said, so where did that get you? And she goes, I wish I would have listened to you 15 years ago. Right? Because branding is so important. It's like, even if you, like back in the day, I used to say, if your brand, look at Carrie Champion, who got her on the Tennis Channel. She wasn't a sports junkie. She didn't even know anything about tennis. We made her a great host. Her first gig, we got her on the Tennis Channel. And from the Tennis Channel, she go to ESPN from there and so on and so on. And, now she's hosting everything and she's on CNN and she's doing this, meaning back in that time, like if you broke where you had the most strength, you could then do whatever you wanted. And I still think it's like that. I think if you have the most strength talking about vacations and luxe life and food and drink and lifestyle, and you have 2 million followers, well, guess what? I think that you could do a nice job hosting a Love Island. Or look at Ariana coming off of the most horrific time in her life, coming off of Vanderpump and Tom cheating on her, right? And, it was brilliant counterculture casting, if you will. Like, they put her on the island knowing that she was bitter and mad and men sucked and dating sucks and people suck and this. But it just played geniusly because you really rooted for her succeeding. You were like, good for Ariana. Mm-hmm. Fuck you, Tom. Ariana, you're rocking it. Love Island, you look great. You're slay girl. Hey, queen. And so we were rooting for her succeeding after that asshole. That's really what it came down to. Because someone said to me, is she a good host? I go, what's interesting watching Love Island this season that just finished on Peacock? Do I think Ariana was great this season? I thought there was something missing. And then it hit me. And I mean, I think I don't know her and I wish her only the best. You know what I mean? But I thought there was something missing this season from her hosting Love Connection. I mean, not Love Connection. Look where my brain goes. From Love Island. I think what was missing was sort of that bite, that edge, that like that thing we all were like just rooting for her. And I'm not saying we're not still rooting for her. We are. But because that sort of whole debauchery has ended, meaning, and I'm not saying she has to have another drama for us to get re-engaged, but I think that's what made us engage so much and feel for her so much. And she was so authentic. She was so hurt, like, right? And so we just wanted her to win. So it's interesting. It'll be very interesting. I know she's doing the reunion with Andy Cohen, which I thought was very interesting. Last year, she did the reunion. This year, they're bringing in Andy Cohen. And I mean, call me jaded, call me mean, call me whatever. But I think they're bringing Andy in because I think what she lacked in hosting the reunion last year was knowing how to push those buttons, which a good host does, which Andy will do great.
Yeah, he always does. I'm intrigued by him anyway. Speaking of branding then, so how do you think that people can figure out their brand?
I do now I do like a branding workshop where we workshop people's brands, but meaning, okay, what do you love? What are you super passionate about? Like what do you have? What could you be? If I asked you to go on the Today Show tomorrow and talk about one thing for 3 minutes, what could it be? Why would the audience want to hear what you had to say about that subject or that brand? If you were going to write a book, what could you write a book on that we could put on Amazon in 3 months that people would actually go and buy and love reading that book? And it's funny. I used to ask that question in my branding workshop. I'd be like, what could you write a book on? And they'd be like, well, I'd write a book on a small town girl coming to Hollywood and making it. And I'd be like, well, have you made it? And they're like, well, not yet. I'm like, well, then who the fuck would buy that book from you? You haven't made it. Like, we'd buy it from Jenny Lopez, Jenny from the Bronx. You know what I mean? Meaning, so get real. I love the Artist's Way workbook. Anybody can go on Amazon and buy The Artist's Way. And I think what's so great about that workbook and that book, it forces you every day to take pen to paper, not type it in your iPhone notes, and really get clear on, hey, what is my calling to be in front of the camera and to engage millions of people? That's a privilege, not a rite of passage. So if I have that privilege to engage millions of people, what do I want to engage them with?
Yeah, when somebody comes in to see you that maybe wants to work with you or be coached by you, what stands out to you as somebody that's a strong host?
Work ethic. Because I've had people come in that I thought had a better chance of being struck by lightning. And after studying with me for a year, 2 years, a weekend, maybe they do my weekend and then they're like, come into my weekly class. And now I don't even do my studio burned down. ADT, the alarm company, put on a new alarm pad right after COVID. I went to Atlanta to coach a chef for a TV show. And next thing you know, I get a call from ADT, my alarm's going off. And it really wasn't. There was just an electrical fire behind the alarm pad. And so I do, yeah, it's so
What?
crazy. And I like hired lawyer. I mean, they're assholes. You can't go, these big corporations, they just want to box you out and make your life a living hell. And literally it's the way of the world. But it's like David versus Goliath. But, at the end of the day, I teach completely different now. And I do a lot more like one-on-one. But what I would say to those people that would come in, and some people I just thought, no, I didn't see it. But then they took the boot camp, and then I would see them week after week, and they were just tenacious. And then sure enough, we found a great brand. I mean, Alex Curry, who's on Fox Sports, who's huge. Alex came in,
Mm-hmm.
it's funny, the network Fuel sent her to me. And Alex was like horrible in the beginning. And I would give her shit, and I'd be like, Alex, got to be like this. Alex, don't be so self-conscious. Alex, da, da, da. And just a year later, man, she got her confidence. She worked her ass off. She was tenacious. She got more and more authentic and comfortable in front of the camera. And bada bing. I think, the Angels or whoever offered her first baseball gig, and the rest was, the rest is history. So meaning if someone would have said, judge her from the first weekend that I taught her, I would have said, nope, never happening. But then, because once again, hosting is asking to be you. Being an influencer is asking to be you. What do you want to influence the masses with? Whether you're Alex Earl partying, a lifestyle, Europe, cocktails, facials, fashion, you know what I mean? Carl's Jr., Coachella, meaning that's a brand. Right now, the tricky thing for an Alex Earl is when she gets married and gets pregnant and has a baby, are we going to give a shit about the drinking and the cocktails and Coachella from her? No.
Yeah, there is that importance of growing with your brand and growing with your
Evolving
audience,
with it.
right?
Evolving with it. Very important.
How do you think, this makes me think of another point, how do you think that Hollywood is changing when it comes to casting? I know that you had previously on your show, The Drama Queen.
Yes.
We talk about that. I remember you saying Hollywood loves skinny, but do you think that's changing now?
Absolutely. I think we've seen the evolution in the last 4 or 5 years that they don't want the skinny little, petite blonde anymore because it's sort of unrelatable. They want someone that like is relatable, which is why Ashley Graham being on the red carpet and talking about fashion as a plus size model, right? So us at home that aren't, a size 3 gonna fit into that sample size dress from, couture Chanel. But having someone that we go, but look at Ashley, she's more plus size and she looks fabulous and she's interviewing like, so I think we've seen this evolution in the last 4 or 5 years.
I was going to say, so as like a businesswoman, you've built this empire, this, management empire. I want to know, like, what advice do you have for somebody that is a businesswoman that wants to start their own business and get to the places that you have been because you've just had such massive success with that?
Take chances. You got to be relentless, and guess what? You're going to fail a million times to Sunday. And every time you fail, we're never going to judge you on your failure. We're going to judge you from how you recover from that failure. So, and I say this to talent all the time. I say it to kids. They'll be like, oh, this didn't happen for me and this didn't happen. I'm like, so fucking what? Dust yourself the fuck off and now rebound as the person you want to be. Either it can make you go into a hole and never want to do it again, or it can make you stronger, come back better, fight harder. That's what you have to be like in business. Business is constantly putting out a fire. You're constantly like, oh, the office burned down. Oh, this talent didn't show up. This person has a contract and they don't want to do it anymore because they got offered this. It's constantly putting out fires. So you have to learn how to constantly put out fires, constantly fail, like, you know what I mean? And just recover and have integrity. Like I've been reading a lot lately about these agents and managers that are going to jail for not paying their talent. And it's like when a client's check comes in, boy, we put it in the bank and we cut their check immediately. Like, I mean, it blows my mind, the balls of where people are. Have integrity, be honest. Like, 'cause everything that comes everything that you do in the dark comes to light no matter what. And if the world hasn't figured that out in 2025, then they never will. And also with social media, it's like you see these couples going on reality shows. You have one skeleton in that closet. Oh my God. Those friggin' internet, detectives, they're going to figure out, I just saw someone talking. I was scrolling and I was on TikTok and this girl was like, so-and-so mentioned blank on the reality show. So I did a deep dive into I found their high school yearbook. I found their high school photo. They dated this girl. Here's who they follow. I mean, you gotta live integrity. Gotta be authentic. You can't be afraid to fail. It's where we are in 2025. Perfection is unrelatable. So if you're striving for perfection, get the fuck out. Because it's unrelatable. Be perfectly imperfect.
Before I let you go, when we talk about interviewing, whether you're a journalist, whether you're a host, what are some tangible takeaways when you are interviewing a guest?
When you are interviewing someone, piggyback, keep it fluid. So if you're interviewing someone like Brad Pitt, coming off of F1, and it's had such an amazing run at the box office. You guys were literally number one for 7.5 weeks. And now going through this devastating loss, we know how close you were to your mother. I don't want to ask you how you're feeling because I know how you're feeling. Horrible. But how do you pay tribute to her lineage or what's her lineage that she's leaving behind? What's her legacy? And then he answers her legacy. Wow, that's such a great question, Stephanie, and really hard to sort of answer what her legacy is. I guess her legacy is really just being an amazing mother and grandmother. Then piggybacking off what he just said, you said
As a mother myself,
I know how the struggles and the balancing act it takes to be a good mother, and then asking, or how was she such a great mom? Because I'm a mom myself and I want to know, you're saying her legacy, Brad, was her being a great mom. So ask that question first based on what he just said, and then reveal about yourself in the context. And then see what a great aunt, he might say, she was just the most loving, here's an example of my mom. And he might tell a little anecdote, a story about her. And then all of a sudden that goes viral because he's never answered that question or no one's ever heard that on the red carpet. My biggest pet peeve is you're on a red carpet and you're like, Brad, George, or, Justin Bieber, come here. How are you? Well, one, is Justin Bieber going to really fucking tell you how he is? Shitty, me and Haley had a fight before today's big premiere, and I'm so mad at her, but she's selling road for $1 billion, so I'm going to stay with her. No, he's not going to tell you what's really going on. So don't ask, how are you? Stupid. And so go in for a great question. Justin, it's so great. Your song is it's number 2. Everybody's listening to it on, TikTok and Instagram. It's going viral. Your wife just sold road for $1 billion. You had a baby. I would say what a monumental couple of years it's been for you. What's next? And then let him decide what's next and what he's going to tell you, because he might tell you what's next. That's a great question. I have 2 albums coming out. We're thinking about having another baby. We're going to move to Italy. And then from there, you're like, oh, wow. Is she pregnant? You said you're going to have another baby. When is this Italy trip? They're going to give you everything for you to ask your next question. My biggest pet peeve when people are like, here's my 3 questions in my head. Audience isn't in your head. Right? So the minute you go into your head, you're sort of like, F you, audience. My questions that I have had in my head for the last 45 minutes, I'm going to ask, even though they might just give me the most wicked answer to something. I'm not interested. I'm not going to listen. I'm going to be in my head. I hate that.
Yeah, you got to listen. You can prep and prep and prep and prep. And then you need to listen, because once you listen, if you get that little nugget of something, you can then hear what they're saying and then pivot off of that instead of just saying, I need to answer this.
And I coached P. Diddy when he was doing the Oscars. And so I was at P. Diddy's house, and this is when he was doing the Oscars live, and they had him presenting a lifetime achievement to Martin Scorsese for, what's it called? The Godfather. So I go to his house, and he has his little script taped on his mirror. And I was in his bathroom, in PD's bathroom, and there was no freak offs when I was there, FYI. But, he literally was like, yeah, I'm P. Diddy, and we're going to honor, Bobby De Niro is going to come up, Al Pacino. And I go, I ripped it off the wall. I go, it's live. I go, Sean, anything could happen. So, and guess what happened after that? The slap with Will Smith came out, and P. Diddy had to follow the slap up. And so thank God, and I had said to him, in live TV, you use everything. Al Pacino's right there. Meaning, Martin Scorsese. You don't need to have all that. Just be present to receive the presents. And sure enough, the slap with Will and that whole thing happens, and he comes out right after. And thank God he did coaching with me, because he said, literally, Marki, I was like, to the slap. And I go, and thank God you did, because if you came out all in your head and didn't acknowledge it, we think you were a weirdo,
Yes.
Get out of your head. If you're present, you will receive the presents, because you're in the presence, But if you're in your head, the presents will just go by you. The gold will fly by.
Fantastic takeaways. Before I let you go, though, do you have time for quick
rapid fire?
Rapid fire. Fill in the blank. If I weren't a coach, I would be
a race car driver. I love to drive fast. I literally would be a race car driver, yes.
Is that why you've brought up F1 a bunch of times?
Everybody was like, it was so corny. I was like, I loved it. I love driving fast. I love driving. I've never been in a car accident. I can get anywhere in 20 minutes. I would be a race car driver.
I love that. Your coffee order.
I am you know what I really like is a really plain vanilla latte.
Oh, that's me too. They're so good. Your favorite travel destination?
My favorite travel destination, hands down. I mean, I love Europe, but I'm in Hawaii all the time. I love Hawaii. I'm in Hawaii once every other month. My sister lives there. I love Hawaii. I write, I walk. Something about I cry when I'm landing in Hawaii. There's just something about the islands that I just have this bizarre connection with. I love the Hawaiian Islands.
People love Hawaii, and it is going to be my first time in Hawaii this October. So everyone is amping me up.
I love it.
I can't wait. Your favorite restaurant?
Dolce Vita in Beverly Hills.
I've never been.
So good.
Okay, I'm going to make a reservation.
Old Hollywood. I think Frank Sinatra owned it, and they still have the red booths, but it's all revamped. I mean, you go in there, talk about celebrities eating in there, like the most bougie of bougie, but the food, it's so good.
Chef's kiss?
Chef's kiss.
Something people often get wrong about you.
They think I'm mean, and I'm not mean. I'm loud and I'm honest. But sometimes when I'm honest, they're like, you're being mean. You asked me what I thought, and I'm now honestly telling you, I'm sorry it's not what you wanted to hear. So people will think I'm mean.
The last movie, TV show, or book you watched and loved?
I just read a Colleen Hoover book. It's called November 9th, the 9th of November, and I just couldn't put it down, and I loved it. That was the last book I read. I literally finished it 2 days ago. The last movie I saw, it was called Sorry Baby, a little A24 movie. It won a lot of awards at Sundance. What a slice of life. What a fabulous movie. If you haven't seen it, run, don't walk.
A snapshot in an ordinary, everyday moment that gives you true joy.
My kids, always. I love my kids. I would do anything for my kids. If someone F with my kids, it's like, maybe my kid doesn't like to fight. I'm like that meme, that video. I like to, if you come for my kid, I'm coming for you. So my kids, I love my kids.
You've, had this long business, but has your perception of your business at all changed since you had children?
No, I mean, I opened up my company when my oldest son was 6 months old, literally. And
wow.
I just made it always work. I think what made me a great mom in a lot of ways was that I had my life and then I had their life. So I would come home and I had a great nanny and a great housekeeper. I mean, I no shame in my game. And I mean, and my kids to this day love them. They were just amazing. And, I'd come home and I'd be like, let's do homework. They were already bathed, fed. Let's watch a movie. Let's have fun. Let's go take a walk. Mm-hmm. So I was never grumpy, Mom. I've worked all day. Now I got to bathe you and feed you. I was always happy to come home and squeeze their little faces and hang out with them and love on them. So balance.
If you could switch lives with one person for a day, who would it be?
Donald Trump. So I could undo everything he's done.
Gosh, you're not the first person who said that. We'll leave
We'll
it
leave
at
it at
that.
that.
One thing you're deeply grateful for right now.
What I'm deeply grateful for right now is, I'm honestly like, as you get older, I think so many women are afraid to get older. Like, I love being in my 50s. There's such freedom you find in your 50s where you just don't give a fuck. Meaning, okay, I see it with my 16-year-old, like that teenage angst, and they care about what everybody's doing. What are they wearing? What did they say? Turn down your music. Don't do this. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I love this age of, I'm grateful that, growing old is a luxury. It's a privilege. You know what I mean? It's not meaning we're lucky we wake up. And so I'm just grateful to be alive, to do what I do, to love my kids, and to not care what anybody else thinks. You know what I mean? And it's funny, like I go to the gym now almost, every other day. And I never did that when I was younger. But now I go, oh, I see why people love it. I'll go ride 12 miles. And not to be skinny, not to do, it's because, God, it makes me feel good after. Nobody else, me. And it took me in my 50s to find that.
I remember Oprah Winfrey once saying that when it's her birthday, she screams her age.
Oh.
And people will be like, why are you so open about it? It's like, because I get to be this age.
I think what people, and I think now we're just seeing how it's so nice to grow old and you can do it great. Look at these amazing women, how they look, at 60 and at 70 and and I just think it's cool. It's badass, to grow old and to have all that experience and knowledge. It's like, I was in Trader Joe's the other day and and the guy was like, oh, how's your day? Because they're like told to say that. And I was like, great, how's yours? And he was like, fine. And then we ended up chatting. And I just said, like, it's so interesting. He goes, yeah, most people don't chat because they're always on their phones or so distracted. I said, yeah, well, I grew up when we didn't have phones. If we needed something, we'd say, sir, where's the spaghetti? Sir, what aisle is that? Like, meaning,
Yeah.
And so I'm so grateful for all of that. Like, even my 16-year-old will say like, all my friends love you. Cause and I'm like, and he goes, and that's all they remember is you. And I was like, because I make sure that everything is memorable and an experience in life. And I hope that all my kids get that from me.
Marki, last question. If you could go back in time to when you first started your career, what piece of advice would you give yourself?
Woo! The piece of advice I would give myself is have more of an open mind. And I think sometimes I was closed-minded and I and have an open mind. Always have an open mind. You never know what the day is going to bring you and have that open mind. And so I think I would tell myself, like, just have an open mind. Go with the flow more. You know what I mean? And so I now do that now, but I wish I did that more in my 20s and 30s.
And especially in our careers today, have an open mind. Because I think so much so, especially in 2025, we can get hooked on this. We have to be doing this exact job at this exact time, and it has to look like this. And then we don't focus on these other interesting opportunities that come along and test them out and then find out either, wow, I really like that. And I didn't realize that I would like this gig or this position so much. Or it could be the opposite of that really wasn't for me. But now I have a new skill set. Now I've learned something new about myself. And now I can go on with that experience to the next thing that I'm doing.
And I would say that to all your viewers and followers and listeners who are listening to this and watching this today is that Nike has a network now, like Red Bull has a network, Apple has a network, meaning traditional, just don't think in I have to be on Access Hollywood Entertainment Night. And like, there's all these other opportunities. I've been working with athletes and their NIL deals, their name, image, and likeness, and how to parlay it and how to build followers. So when they go in and play and then go to an insurance company in Wisconsin, if that's where they're playing college, and have them give you $100,000 to use your name, image, and likeness, meaning be open to everything and get off the beaten path. And don't think there's only one way, because in 2025, there's 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 different ways. And that's what I will say to the people.
In 2025, the world is your oyster, literally.
Run with it. Enjoy it.
Marki, if people want to take your hosting classes, get some coaching, where can they best find you? Where can they follow you? Tell me all the things.
Okay, you can find me on Instagram at Marki Costello, or my business, BecomeAHost. BecomeAHost. Or my company, CMEG. So Marki Costello on Instagram, BecomeAHost on Instagram, CMEG on Instagram. I have websites. I'm on Instagram. TikTok is my little Marki Costello, which I just like to have fun and scroll and be crazy and but follow me on Instagram, DM me on Instagram. I answer everything. I'm on my social media, not like other people. I love it. I learn from it. So I will respond. I will, get into your needs. You can send me your materials. We can set up a call and go over specifically what you need, because one size doesn't fit all anymore in coaching. So now I really work one-on-one with an amazing array of people.
Marki, thank you so much. I've been a fan for such a long time. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. I appreciate you. Have a beautiful day.